How did the government of Mauritius respond to AFRINIC's demand to be recognized as a United Nations specialized agency? I won't be exaggerating even a little bit when I say that this video could be the most important video you will watch about the desperate behavior of AFRINIC, their discredited former CEO and other RIRs. It shows how disgraced former CEO of AFRINIC, Eddie Kaihura, and other CEOs of RIR have purposefully misled and lied to the community. Remember when on the 12th of July 2022, the Number Resource Organization, the NRO, sent a secret letter addressed to Mr. Alan Ganou, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Mauritius, from the CEOs of the RIR. The explosive letter, which AFRINIC and other regional internet registries have hoped to keep secret from the community, demanded that Mr. Ganou, a democratically elected representative of the people of Mauritius and the Mauritian government, to recognize AFRINIC as an international organization. This is what the NROs pleaded in their letter, and we quote, "It is our understanding that AFRINIC has repeatedly asked for recognition from Mauritius of it as an international organization. We understand this is both appropriate for AFRINIC to obtain this status and that if granted, it might lead to more appropriate outcomes which would recognize the critical position AFRINIC plays in the internet ecosystem, while also ensuring AFRINIC continues to remain accountable and subject to Mauritian laws. Providing AFRINIC this status is consistent with the rule of law and leaves the courts to provide any reasonable check on AFRINIC." Well, it turns out there's been more than one request from AFRINIC for legal immunity. We're fully aware that the Regional Internet Registry, RIR, system has evolved through time, eventually dividing the responsibility for registration of unique numbers for each of 5 regions of the world. The regional internet registries are informally liaised through the unincorporated Number Resource Organization, NRO, which is a coordinating body to act on the collective interest of RIRs. Now, the thing that always made the RIR system work and function for over 30 years was the multi-stakeholder model, which is a bottom-up approach that all of the stakeholders and community members took part in, doing their best to make sure the RIR system serves its purpose. However, is this still true today? Well, the intention of their letter was clear. It was intended to interfere with the rule of laws in a sovereign nation so AFRINIC can have more appropriate outcome in their legal cases. But many questions remained. What is the actual meaning of international organization referred to in the letter? Why? This international organization status will help AFRINIC avoid the rule of law? Why was the letter addressed to the Foreign Minister of Mauritius? Since the intention was to interfere with the rule of law, shouldn't it have been addressed to the Chief Justice or the Attorney General? A few of the signatories have responded to the public in their follow-up. Some defended their actions. Some apologized for the wording of the letter. But all of them have been extremely evasive towards the fundamental question: what is the definition of an international organization as mentioned in the letter? Well, are you ready for the big news? The government of Mauritius has released an official letter rejecting AFRINIC's request to become an international organization. This rejection is good news for the community. It shows that the Mauritian government has rejected AFRINIC's attempts to interfere in the rule of law and firmly rejected the interference in a democratic process. In their rejection, they mentioned a law in which AFRINIC based its request on: the International Organizations and Conferences Privileges and Immunities Act. I refer to your email dated 7th of March 2022 and the ensuing exchange of correspondence between the AFRINIC and this ministry regarding the renewed request for AFRINIC to be recognized as an international organization under the International Organizations and Conferences Privileges and Immunities Act of the Republic of Mauritius. I wish to inform you that, following the consideration of the request by the competent authorities, the above-mentioned request cannot be entertained. Please accept, dear sir, the assurances of my high consideration. And we look at the law mentioned in the letter, and finding the definition of the so-called international organization according to the law. We saw the following interpretation in this part. Organization means the United Nations organization. We understand now why NRO used that term, international organization. They didn't use this word randomly. They chose it on purpose. They were pleading for diplomatic immunity. Moreover, this is why the NRO's letter was addressed to the Minister of Foreign Affairs especially, because the law they're based on is international organization. It's actually for the United Nations, hence the responsibility of the Foreign Minister. I'll explain to you the details of the law in just a minute. But if you read the government of Mauritius' response carefully, it makes a reference to an earlier request for immunity from March 2022, something we were never told about and something that the RIR CEOs told us they never knew about. NRO tried to use a section from International Organizations and Conferences Privileges and Immunities Act to convince the government of Mauritius to recognize AFRINIC as a UN specialized agency, thinking that they would succeed in deceiving the government by telling them AFRINIC is an organization that has the same standing as the International Telecommunications Union, which, coincidentally, is a specialized agency of the UN, which AFRINIC isn't. Specialized agencies of the United Nations. Let's interpret this part. Convention means the Convention on the Privileges and Immunities of the Specialized Agencies of the United Nations, adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations on the 21st of November 1947. Organization to which this part applies means 1. The International Telecommunications Union, 2. The World Meteorological Organization, and 3. The International Maritime Organization. The NRO and the RIR community have resisted the interference from International Telecommunications Union for decades. The multi-stakeholder is based on a bottom-up and community-driven process that's free of government commenting or interference. The NRO letter is the betrayal of the very basic principle that the RIRs were built on. 30 years of hard work and countless hours by members all over the world, only to be exposed in a single desperate letter by the 4 CEOs of the RIRs. It turns out they collectively want to be like the ITU. Instead of joining the ITU, the RIR's CEO made it clear in their letter to the Mauritius government that they wanted to be the ITU, a specialized agency of the United Nations. They wanted immunity from legal action. They want to avoid being judged by the rule of law. They want to throw away their entire accountability to the community in the trash, in exchange to be above the community and to be the god. It's not surprising that they wanted to keep their communications secret. It's not surprising that once NRS exposed them for what they are, they've turned their anger on NRS. The government of Mauritius' response also shows that AFRINIC and other RIRs have lied to us. When we exposed their letter, the RIR CEO claimed that they had no intention of asking for diplomatic immunity. We now have evidence of them asking for diplomatic immunity 4 months earlier. Something they told us they didn't know about. The RIR CEOs lied to us all. I can't express my disappointment and anger enough here. Everything I and all of my fellow colleagues from all around the world have ever believed in has gone because of a single act by those once trusted leaders of the RIRs. We at NRS realize the importance of this event and how much the fundamentals of the RIRs and the collective internet is at stake. It calls more than ever for the mission of NRS, in which we have sworn to protect the bottom-up, community-driven approach that has been established by the pioneers of the internet. We will strive to protect the RIRs and keep them free from government interference, free from any corrupted leaders in the current RIR system, free from anyone that wants to destroy the first collective project of human beings all around the world. No matter how powerful they are, no matter how much influence they hold, and no matter how misleading they truly are, we at NRS, together with your support, will make RIRs what it once was: a good bookkeeper for the internet. Join us and share this video. Let's make an accountable internet and a better future for everyone. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to follow this historical and monumental undertaking that we've embarked upon. Together, we'll save the internet and make it better for everyone.